The following program contains views that are not those of WVTC, iNetworks Communications, their subsidiaries, affiliates, or financial supporters.
Not sure what happened there. I guess it's my internet connection. Nevertheless, thank you guys for tuning in to WVTC Network. I am your host, Cynthia. And I have Marc Carter on here. He's a Chicago activist. And so I would like to thank you guys for voting for us for the third Stella Award nomination. As you guys know, we already have two. My team is amazing. Frank, Q, Pastor Quincy Jones. I'm sorry. I said Pastor Quincy Jones. That is not his name. Y'all bear with me. It's been a long day. Again, thank you to Frank, Quincy, and Ramon Perry for all that you guys do, and Sandy Rose over there in Detroit. Nevertheless, we're going to get on with the show. As you guys seen the caption, we're talking about politics, Trump, immigration, and everything in between. So with that being said, I am going to introduce you guys to Marc Carter. Sorry about that, Marc. It's been a long day. I've been running. I ain't had no sleep, and I'm excited about having you on because you are a man of wisdom and knowledge, and a lot of stuff that you make mention of we don't necessarily hear in our communities, and voices of those that allegedly supposed to stand up in front of us, if that makes sense. So with that being said, Marc, I'm gonna let you have your way.
Okay. So I'm glad that you brought me on your show about such an important issue at a very important time in this country, right? Now, I would say prior to now, we've had the luxury to almost be the chosen child, right? The chosen one, where we can simply say, well, we're not gonna go and sit down or talk to the Republicans because they're racist, right? But we're in a day and time where we have to weigh it out to see and say, well, who could we better work with, the Democrat or the Republican? And I would say to us at this stage in the game, we are better off with a Trump in office than a Joe Biden when it comes to this problem of immigration, right? Immigration in America has reared its head, has shown itself to be worse than us dealing with the Ku Klux Klan in this country. And let me tell you why I say that, because most times when I use that analogy, people say, "What did you just say?" Well, let me tell you why I said it. Well, at least with the Ku Klux Klan, they stay in their areas. They stay in mostly rural America.
Okay.
But when it comes to mass immigration and these immigrants, guess where they wanted to live? In our neighborhoods. If you look at what's happening right now, quietly on these different blocks, you see a lot of these immigrants that people are calling migrants. These are not migrants. You migrate within the country you're from. These are not asylum seekers. You seek asylum because you're under the threat of death or something like that. Well, how could they be under threat of death when they come here, make money, send the money back over to the countries that they come from, and then eventually go back to visit those countries? So it has nothing to do with being a migrant. It has nothing to do with asylum seeker.
So let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, so did this just come about in regards to the immigrants being Just
No. Oh, no. So quietly, they had been doing this. For me, as a person who's really started paying attention to it, I really started seeing it heavily when the plan was rolled out called the Chicago New Americans Plan. And this was back in 2011. But prior to that, I've been listening to people like Dr. Claude Anderson, who told us that what's about to happen in Chicago happened in California already 25 years ago. But then when you go back in history, you will see even back in the early 20s where the Irish and Italians and Jews were being funneled into the country. I won't go too far off into that, but then let's come back up to speed. And to this day and time, after the 90s, you saw a big influx of immigrants coming to America. But now it's worse because with this influx of illegals, they're bringing them into our community. Now, Chicago, for the most part, is a city of neighborhoods. It's really a real nice way of saying we're a bunch of racist people and we need to be separated and segregated, which I don't have a problem with that. And so that's why I say immigration is worse than the Ku Klux Klan, because just think about those who would be considered the racist Republicans. You know where they live. They live out in what is that neighborhood out south? It's way out south. Oh man, I don't know how I forgot the name of it. But you don't see any of those neighborhoods. You don't see those people spread all out over the city. They live at Mount Greenwood is where I was talking about. So you know where the quote unquote white racist Republicans live. And they're not trying to move on the south or west side into our communities. But these immigrants, these illegal immigrants, they are being moved and they want the land that's in our neighborhoods. Now we saw that happen in California, New York, Florida, Minnesota. When you go back and you look at how this happened, and either they came in as illegal immigrants or they were brought in here as refugees. More so refugees in Minnesota, but when it comes to Florida, New York, and California, they came in as illegal immigrants and they end up taking over.
wow.
This Chicago New Americans Plan. And I want everybody, if you are by your computer, please look this plan up. It is very
Wait a
important.
minute, Mark, you said this plan came out in 2011?
2011, yes. This has been in place since 2011. But prior to, well, not prior to, but after Rahm Emanuel implemented this plan, Rahm Emanuel and Barack Obama implemented this plan, 2015, the teachers union went over to Venezuela to get the Venezuelans ready to come to America.
Wow.
So this has all been in the making. This is not something new. It's not something that just all of a sudden happened. This has been in the making all the time to move on us and replace us.
That's scary.
And the
So
black politicians.
so because it already been in place and it's been written in 2011, so when they were coming here, so I'm just trying to figure it out. So when they were coming here, there were a lot of aldermen making a big fuss about it in regards to them being housed in their wards. So what was that about?
You said there
Or
weren't a lot of aldermen?
they were. I mean, so did the aldermen not know this prior to?
No. They knew exactly what was going on. But like I said to you off the air before we got on the air, these politicians, because they're Democrats, they don't want you to know about this. Because they know if the people really find out what's going on, then no way they'll be voting for Joe Biden, who's putting this into motion. So either the people going to vote for Trump or they're not going to vote at all once they really find out what's happening. And I would like to consistently come on to educate the people. Let's build up a body of people to educate them on what's happening here. These black politicians are not going to say anything because they benefit by being quiet.
Wow.
And they've been doing this, not just on this issue, but whether it's police shootings, discrimination in contracting and jobs, you know what I mean? They're not saying nothing. They need you to stay uneducated and misinformed. This is how they get away with getting you to vote for them. So when you have an educated populace, there's no way that you can make a fool out of them. They're gonna ask questions when they're educated. And so I think that we need to get in the business of educating the populace, especially our generation and our children, because our children and our children's children are one who's going to be hurt by this in the upcoming years. Us too, right now. And so when you look at the Chicago New Americans Plan, which was put in place in 2011 by Rahm Emanuel, it basically said that all jobs, contracts, housing, education resources will go to these illegal immigrants. And the legal immigrants that are in this country, in this city, they can benefit from the Office of New Americans. So you got the plan, which is called the Chicago New Americans Plan. Then you got the Office of New Americans, right? And the Office of New Americans is the comprehensive plan and strategy to eliminate us in this country. Now we got an Office of New Americans here in Chicago, which was the first one in 2011. But if you Google Office of New Americans right now and hit the word images, you will see that there's an Office of New Americans in all those, every city.
Wow.
And as Black people, we don't need a New Americans plan. We don't need a plan for illegal immigrants to be put into our community in the cities where we are, because we already being discriminated against. So now you're gonna bring in a bunch of illegals that you're gonna legalize and make them police officers. Do you know in the state of Illinois an illegal immigrant can become a police officer?
I seen it.
Yeah. And all this is going on. The Black politicians are not saying a thing about it. Well, guess what? We're gonna say something about it. Now,
wow.
the next step on top of the Chicago New Americans Plan is you must understand what Cities for Action is. Cities for Action. And I'm going to read it straight from their website. Now, this is straight from their website. This is the mission of Cities for Action. Cities for Action is a coalition of nearly 200 U.S. mayors and county executives advocating for pro-immigrant federal policies and launching innovative, inclusive programs and policies at the local level. Our leaders have joined forces to create stronger and safer cities by driving the national debate, embracing new immigrants, and engaging with stakeholders to win on immigration policies. Now, when I talk about immigrants, illegal immigrants, I'm not just talking about, let's say, Hispanics. All immigrants are together. Africans are on board with Mexicans, Jews, and every other immigrant group. All these people are together, whether legal or illegal. Africans, Caribbeans, Indians, Asians, the Jewish community, they all join forces as immigrants. And if we don't look up,
I was looking at your Facebook page a while ago, and I see you had took a vacation over to somewhere Trump was at. What was that?
Mar-a-Lago. That's his home in Florida.
Wow.
Yeah, and I went there to have a conversation with Trump about this specific issue right here, along with reparations and things like that. See, one thing about it with me is, I'm never afraid to speak up, right? Never afraid. I don't care who I'm talking to. When it comes to my people, I'm going to take the message and put it on the table. And I say this because we're in a desperate and serious situation right now. And so Trump and the Republican Party must get on board with our issues and our plan, no different than they want us to get on board with their plan, which is cool. I mean, we must mutually agree in order to move forward. And going down there, and seeing a few Black people down there that in my take, I'll say that they were just there to smile and take pictures. I came for business. I didn't go there to eat. I didn't go there to laugh and all those things like that. I went for business. And that business is for Black people all across this country, to bring up the fact that the New Americans Plan is hurting my people.
That's so I don't understand why you don't have a team or a large following behind you in regards to you educating the people. You said this been in effect since 2011. It's 2024, and it's
Yes.
happening. So a lot of people thinking that, oh, this just happened yesterday, and so all these people making a fuss about it and haven't gotten educated, or even haven't got educated in regards to to the new American plan that you just mentioned. That's scary on all
But
levels.
see, that's why it's on us, because we are the common people who need to know what's going on. We need to educate the people. We need to throw meetings on this. We at high time right now, right? And when I often send a plan over to people, they'll say, well, this Rahm Emanuel came up with this plan in 2011. Well, my first response is, there's laws on the books that will send you to prison for life that's been on the books for 100 years.
That's true. You're
Right?
right.
There's your Bible that you go to church and read from. That's from thousands of years ago. Well, this is the way they train our people's mind. But with this, you don't even have to go back to Rahm Emanuel. I have a video clip where Mayor Brandon Johnson came out and said that problem is we don't have a more robust Office of New Americans.
Really?
This dude said that, and this prior to him becoming mayor, he said that he would put more resources into the Office of New Americans than Rahm Emanuel, being the person who created it. I got a video clip that says this. Huh?
I said, I wish you had it to play it.
Yeah. I mean, and this dude is he's more pro-immigrant, more pro-illegal immigrant than Rahm Emanuel.
Wow. That's scary.
And he's showing you that he is. Look at the kind of money this dude. Do you know, since they started spending money on these illegals, that they spent about $3 billion on them? $3 billion in the city of Chicago. And most of that money came by way of Brandon Johnson, than even Rahm Emanuel, who came up with the plan, the Chicago New Americans plan in the Office of New Americans. And then I want us to just let that sink in. If they call themselves the New Americans, then what's the plan for the old Americans? What's the plan for those who've been here? And your common sense, I shouldn't have to give your listening audience the answer. Your common sense should tell you that they're going to get rid of you. And I want to go through some of this language on here. Listen to this language. Immigrants in Chicago face unique challenges and barriers to meaningful and successful integration. To fully leverage the contributions of immigrants, I have assembled an advisory committee comprised of 50 business, academic, civic, philanthropic, community, and immigrant advocacy leaders in Chicago. This committee was tasked with developing strategies to ensure that we support the creation and expansion of immigrant-owned businesses, that we develop, attract, and retain talent and expertise from other countries, and that we bolster Chicago's status as a vibrant and welcoming international city. Listen to that language. So when I'm saying to you that the committee comprised of 50 business, academic, civic, philanthropic, and community immigrant advocacy leaders, guess what that's saying? That the academic community has agreed to give free college tuition to illegal immigrants.
I saw
the
that too.
The business community has committed to giving all the jobs and contracts to illegal immigrants. Along with government now they didn't even mention government in here. Government is giving all jobs, contracts, housing, education resources. Man, do you know that there's hardly a place for people to go and rent? It's hardly, and this is gonna get worse, y'all. And then when you look at the philanthropic community, so all those nonprofit dollars are going to illegals, illegal issues and things like that. We've been cut off, and if we don't start organizing and making noise, and everybody just willy-nilly go in there and vote for the Democrat Party, they're gonna bring more of them in here. It's not gonna get better, it's gonna get worse. And violence is gonna spike. And we're gonna start turning on our own people instead of looking at the Democrat Party and the way that it's pushing to bring these people to this country.
Somebody sent me a question, Mark. It says, What are your thoughts on Trump's stance on issues like healthcare, education, or climate change?
Look, let me say to us again, though those things are important, we had better pay attention to stand on the land. If they get you off the land, then the question that was just asked would be obsolete. If they move you out of Chicago like they did in California, they don't have to have conversations about anything else.
Wow.
So I'm so focused on what immigration is doing across this country that I find it hard for me to even get off the page to talk about some of the other things, and they are important. But if I take you off the land, then I don't have to worry about you having a conversation about reparations in that state. I don't have to worry about even providing health care to you. Why? Because I'm going to push you out. You see what I'm saying? And that's what they're doing. They're pushing you out because you're raising issues about everything else. And this is what's going to happen right here in Chicago. You're going to get pushed out. But I want to answer those questions. If you got people that are coming with questions, let's go to the questions. It's very important to answer these questions from the people.
Okay, let me go back to it. Okay, another question says, what's happening with Trump in regards to court right now?
I mean, those are his cases that he has to deal with. Now, if you look at what's happening, it's really a political hit job. But those are his cases that he has to deal with. We just have to keep pushing forward because we must understand that without having a person like Trump, now my phone had rung. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So without having a person like Trump that's going to speak up, we in trouble, though.
So another question says, why do you think Trump will come in and change what's already happening?
Say it again.
It says, why do you think Trump will come in and change what's already happening? If you said that this plan was put in 2011.
Because it hurts his people like it hurts ours. He has no choice but to get in here and do it. But if you look at Trump has always spoke out against mass immigration, mass illegal immigration, right? This is not
Yep.
something that he's saying right now. I mean, his biggest chant was build that wall. And that was what, in 2016 or something like that? When in like
Yep.
2016? So we're talking just a few years after the Office of New Americans was created. You had a Trump. Even prior to that, before he became president, he was speaking on it a year or two prior to becoming president. So he started seeing this stuff. Now, he may not know about the Chicago New Americans plan or the Office of New Americans, but overall, with him speaking on it, he must have seen something after 2011 for him to start speaking the way that he was speaking. And if you think about it, everything that this man was saying has come to pass. Even with January 6th, he said that if you allow the Democrats to steal the election, then they're going to flood the country with illegal immigrants. And guess what they're doing? Flooding the country with illegal immigrants as we speak.
Wow. So another question says, if Trump is convicted, we don't have to worry about Trump.
Well, you got to worry about these illegal immigrants. You're right. You won't have to worry about Trump, but you got to worry about these illegal immigrants. Now, you can sit around and think Trump is a bigger problem than illegal immigrants. You got another thing coming. Just stay tuned.
Another question says, what is it that we can now do as it relates to our aldermen that are in office?
Well, those elections don't come up until a couple of years from now. I think 3 years from now, to be exact. We need to be talking about these congressmen, the state reps, state senators, these elections that are happening right now. We need to be organizing and demanding that if you're going to have a plan for immigrants, then you must have a plan for Black Americans. Not for people of color, not for Africans, not for Black and brown, all this insane these insane things that are being said about groups of people who don't care about us. You have no Black and brown relationship. There is no people of color agenda when it comes to these other people. Africans are not on the team with you. They're not Pan-African. Only Black people find themselves being Pan-Africanists. Africans have never come here, along with Caribbeans, have never come here and helped fight for what's happening, or fight against what's happening to us. They never spoke up. And so if we can take this opportunity to now begin to organize and educate the people, I guarantee you, anybody that reads this plan, anybody that now watch this. Look, over the last decade, Chicago has experienced below average growth in gross regional product, annual average wage, and population size. We can reverse this trend by lowering barriers. In other words, get rid of the red tape so these people can open up their businesses. Lowering barriers to entry and growth for immigrant-owned businesses. When have they ever got rid of the red tape for us? And then I go further into the plan where it says there were more than 100,000 unfilled positions in our city in 2011, a number that is expected to grow over the next decades. We already passed the next decade. They said in 2011 there were 100,000 positions. We're in 2024. They said we will accelerate economic growth by training and attracting immigrants to fill these positions.
Wow.
Then they go on to say, and this is for anybody that got children, because sometimes our people think this stuff is a joke, or you just may not care because you really don't care about other people. But this part is going to talk to your children, your grandchildren, your children to come, right? To attract top employers and create jobs for all residents, our city must have a skilled, educated workforce. Immigrant children will make up the next generation of Chicago's workforce. Immigrant children will make up the next generation of Chicago's workforce. Well, if they're planning on giving the jobs and everything over to immigrant children, then what is your children going to do? They're going to go to a life of crime, and then all of the other adults are going to call the police on each other's children and have them locked up. Because Joe Biden quietly has passed a new crime bill in 2022 after getting in office.
Mark, someone said, what's the name of the plan you're speaking of again? What's it called?
It's called the Chicago New Americans Plan. The Chicago New Americans Plan.
Can I find it on Google?
Yes, just a simple Google search. It's a 52-page document.
Okay, I'm typing it in.
Chicago New Americans Plan.
Okay, so somebody said, you said it was written in 2011 by
Rahm Emanuel.
By Rahm Emanuel. How is that relevant to who's in office now?
Well, I guess they must just came in because I stated earlier that the new mayor took the plan and supersized it. He said that we don't have a more robust Office of New Americans, right? And so with him supersizing the plan, it's going to get even worse. And he's showing you that he's funneling money into this. And again, because you hear something that was put in place in 2011 does not mean that it doesn't apply to today's time. And again, they've trained our minds to believe that, well, that was 2011. Well, the Bible was 2,000 years ago. Right? The law, I mean, laws again that were put in place 100 years ago would still send you to prison.
Somebody said, I don't understand why your constituents haven't grabbed you up and allowed you to educate the masses, regardless if it's Democrat or Republican.
Well, guess what? It's on us to do it then. And Cynthia, I wanna thank you for bringing me on your show, right? Because this is where it begins. I've been educating nationally on Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse for the last 4 years. I've been educating. I mean, all people all over the country know about this. Now I wanna bring it back home. I want to have a real focus on zeroing in and educating this city, because once the people find out that this is really happening, I think that they'll move different. Matter of fact, I know that they'll move different when they read this plan and really just see what's happening right under their nose.
Somebody said, if this affects us nationwide, how do we change our communities within, starting with our local politicians? Most times our same boards look like they did when our grandparents were here. What is that we can do about that?
Organize and overthrow those politicians and put people in place who are going to hear what you have to say, who are going to take your agenda down to City Hall. And I know a lot of times people don't believe that they have that power. Well, you don't have that power if you work as an individual, but as a body, just look at the difference between this fist and this finger. Well, if this finger join these other fingers, one is no more powerful than the other. Stop acting as a finger. Become a fist. That way you can hit these politicians upside the head. Stop thinking that you got power or because you may have a master's degree or you may have some money. You are nobody if you're operating by yourself. Stop letting people convince you and stop convincing yourself that you mean something when it comes to politicians as an individual. You mean absolutely nothing to them. You have no power as an individual, no matter how much money or education or toughness that you may have. Your power is in unifying. And so
Mark,
this is about us. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your sentence. Then take a thought.
So what we must do at this stage in the game is start educating. We don't even worry about why these politicians haven't talked about the Office of New Americans and the Chicago New Americans plan. It's we talking about it. We're organizing about it. We're demanding reparations. All these things must happen right now. Why? Because it's an election season. And they're going to listen to us when we start making noise at this stage in the game because they know that when Trump gets in office, he is going to do something about immigration. They also know, and this is the black politicians, they know that he's not going to allow them to keep pushing and supporting this plan for immigration at the expense of Americans. Not just as black Americans, but he's going to do it for Americans, period. Why? Because his people are going to be hurt by this. His people are being hurt by this. This is not just a black problem. This is an American problem. And if you keep flooding them in, you are going to get wiped out like they got wiped out in California.
Wow. I'm going to take a 30-second break, but I want to apologize. When I first came on, I had a brain freeze. My mother and grandmother are both preparing for surgery, so my mind has been all over the place. And like I said, I'm just excited
Take
for
your
WB.
time, man. Take your time.
I know, right?
You know, I mean, this is, you know, we're human beings. We're human beings, and we go through different things. I mean, and so I get it. And then if you could take a break and just, I'll get off camera for those 30 seconds.
No, I saw a commercial.
I need to get to my charger because my phone is about to die. So
okay, I'm going to show a 30-second commercial, and then when you come back, we'll resume. So okay, here we go.
Okay.
My name is Cynthia Manuel. I was born in Chicago, and I am proud to be able to raise my son in Chicago. I work with inner city youth to show them different things outside of their neighborhoods. When these kids walk onto the farm, it makes them feel like they are free. I want these kids to know how to give back, and recycling is one of those ways.
So as you guys just seen that video, I have an organization called Heavenly Sent Youth, for those that don't know, and I am a big advocate of youth. I expose them to so many different things outside the neighborhood, and farm animals is definitely one of them, as you guys just seen. And I'm just thankful for WVTC Radio for giving me this platform to allow me to come on and to educate you guys with these wonderful guests that I have. Earlier, I scrambled over some names: Frank Morris, Pastor Q, and Ramon Perry, and Sandy Rose, that's over there in Detroit holding it down. That is my team. We keep each other lifted. We're excited to be on the ballot the third time for the Stellar Award ceremony, which takes place in Vegas, July 20th. So again, I will be going to the Stellar Award with my team, and hopefully we can come home with a three-peat. So we got Marc back. So thank you, Marc, again for coming on. And you know, I just enjoy listening to you talk, because our people perish for the lack of knowledge. I'm sorry. And so of course we understand that everybody's not going to agree with what everybody says, and we get that. And so it's funny because when I was seeing people telling you were coming on, they was like, "Oh, watch out for that Marc, watch out for that Marc," and I just laughed. I don't always agree with the stuff. I'm like, when you think about it, who does agree with everything someone says? You know what I'm saying?
And why
We all
should
have
you?
freedom of speech.
You know, and why should you? But why should, I mean, we wouldn't be human beings if we agree with everything that anybody says. But I can tell you this much, over the years, I've gotten pushback. And I feel that I've gotten this type of pushback because um, we've often been told to just do as you told. Don't question anything. And definitely don't be a hellraiser when you see something that's hurt you. And man, I think that's the most insane things that could ever happen to a person, and that is where you've been convinced that you shouldn't have nothing to say, that you should just, like Malcolm X says, suffer peacefully. Well, I'm not gonna suffer peacefully, and I don't care if if I make an enemy out of an enemy. I intended on doing it, and I think that we should all intend on making our enemies our enemies. Why? Because they are your enemy. If they're going against you, trying to destroy the future of your children, why are you worried about whether you make them mad or not? Well, you should be mad at them for doing what they're doing to you, and you should care more about that than you care about them being upset with you. But the brainwashing is real, and the dumbing down is even realer, right? And
Correct.
so I want as many people. I mean, we can do this show every day. We can do this every day if you want to. Why? Because it gives an opportunity and time for us to educate. As a man, I was put here to protect and provide, to speak up. That's my nature. I wasn't put here to be liked. If you think about a home, daddy can sometimes be the most disliked person, right? Why? Because he's authoritarian. He has a job to make sure that things stay in order, to make sure, especially with our sons and daughters, that they don't end up going off into a life of crime. And so if that means I got to be the bad guy sometimes, then so be it. So be it. Especially with these politicians. I don't care if they don't like me. If you give all the money to everybody but our community, not only do you not like me, you really stand the hell with me. And so I'm no friend of yours. I'll tell you on the front end. I'll let you know what would cause me to lead protests against you. And if you go and do those things and I protest you, that's on you. You touched the hot iron. So you got burned. You shouldn't have touched the hot iron. They think that you shouldn't say nothing. And so the people have, developed the same mindset. Well, just leave it alone. Don't be a troublemaker. How is that working out for you? How is that working out for you people? How's it working out now that you know that even with you being cool, not being a troublemaker like Marc Carter, that they're still bringing in illegal immigrants to get rid of you? And I'm talking about not just get rid of you by taking your job. I'm talking about they have already decided that your home is going to be an illegal immigrant's home. Whether you rent or you own it. In California, the people's homes was taken away from them. This is going to happen to you if you don't rise up against this New Americans plan.
So wait a minute, Mark. So that means that the immigrants will be able to vote this coming election.
Well, we're looking at they're trying to push it. But if you give them the power to vote, you give them the power to be a police, you give them loans to buy homes, what do you think is going to happen to you?
Wow.
This is not 20 years ago where you can sit around and worry about a Marc Carter being a hell-raising activist. You got something worse than Marc Carter now. You got some illegal immigrants that government is giving them our tax dollars to replace you. That's what you need to be focused on. And if it has to come from people like myself or you, Cynthia, if I have to be the dislike guy for putting it out there, I would suggest that you listen, because I have a lot more information on this situation and subject than a lot of people out here. A lot of surface talk is going on. But if I say to you, HR 572, the National Office of New Americans, HR 1308, the New Deal for New Americans, HR 1909, Essential Workers Act, and then give you the matching Senate bill, I would think that you would kind of like listen to somebody that know what they're talking about versus listen to a politician that's letting it happen. because they are letting it happen. It can't happen without them. The aldermen, your state reps, your state senators, your congressmen, your United States senators, they're all in on this.
Wow. And so I do know that a lot of people aren't educated when it comes to politics. And like you mentioned earlier, a lot of times, we just go along with whatever people say. We don't do any research, and we wonder why things are happening right up under our nose.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's sad because like someone texted me earlier, the same our neighborhoods look the very same way when our grandparents was here. Speaking of which, Mark, and so with that, so a lot of times we talk about that. And so what's your take on the elders that are in position and that's been in the position for quite some time?
They need to be moved out of the way, plain and simple. We have no time to deal with a mindset that will never change. I mean, look, I'm 50 years old now. I'm more focused on my grandchildren than I am my generation. I'm more focused on young people than I am my grandparents, the very few who are still here. This is about the future to come, okay? And I think we spend too much time worrying about the older generation. And I'm talking about specifically the older generation that's in power. Because some of the older people got messed over 40, 50 years ago by these same politicians that's been in office for the last 40, 50 years. Joe Biden has been in office for 50, coming after, just say if he won as president, that would make 54 years that this guy has been in office. 54 years. He became a United States Senator the year that I was born, in 1973.
1973.
1973.
I don't know if you see this question mark from Mr. Smith. It says, what about Trump's plan, pro-police plan, shield police from any lawsuits? How will that affect our community?
Well, quite naturally, I don't agree with that. We're not going to agree with everything. And we're not going to disagree on everything. Right? When it comes to this thing about the police, and I would say too, his name is George. I see the guy, George. George, the things that Trump is saying to attract those voters, this is not new. The what they call it, stop and frisk, for example. Let's use stop and frisk because it's pretty much what he's speaking on, right? Stop and frisk, and I'm pretty sure that America is not going to accept the police being able to be shielded when they kill somebody, even though they've been getting away with it. So that's even been around where they kill young children and get away with it, right? This has been going on. The black politicians don't even say nothing about it. But stop and frisk. Tell me when stop and frisk has ever stopped. It hasn't. Stop and frisk has been around when it comes to poor black people since the beginning of time. And so point out some of these things as if they're new because Trump said it. Go back in history. Go back the last 10 years. The police been killing. When Democrats were in office, when Republicans were in office, police were killing children and getting away with it. All over the country. So again, I would say to you, George, pay attention to this move that's being made to take you off the land. Pay close attention to that. You are in trouble. The people in California already have experienced this. The Hispanics and took over Compton and Watts, LA County. They took it over. And when you look at these plans that they have that they've rolled out, they clearly say that they're going to wipe you out. They're not even hiding it from you. You sitting there worried about racism, and a bigger racism is taking place. You worried about the Ku Klux Klan. Ain't no Ku Klux Klan in Chicago. There is no white racist Republicans in city council. Do you know all of the aldermen in city council are Democrats?
I didn't know that.
All of the aldermen, white, black, Hispanic, they all the Democrat. But they want your mind focused on the white race. The white racist Republicans don't run nothing in Chicago. Even when Rauner, who was a Republican governor, was in office, he had no power. Why? Because the House and Senate in Chicago, which is the three powers in this state, are ran by Democrats. And now you got Chicago, you got the Senate, the House, and the governor's mansion, all Democrat. And people are still starving. But because we're so brainwashed and trained, we don't even see that these are Democrats doing this to us. Look, the Speaker of the House is a black man. The Lieutenant Governor is a black woman. The Mayor of Chicago is black. You have a black caucus in the Senate and the House. You got 18 black aldermen, 18 black wards. The police chief is black. The state's attorney is black. And I can go on and on and on and on. So we got all these black people in power. Then wouldn't that mean that these black people are doing it to us? Doing to us what we speaking on a white racist Republican that don't exist? Well, what do you do about that? Because we could talk about the problems all night. Let's get to the solution, and that is to organize our people on what immigration is going to do, and then we start overthrowing people who are going along with this. And I'm glad that you put the plan up. Everybody, go and do your homework on the Office of New Americans, the Chicago New Americans Plan, and Cities for Action. Let me say that again. The Office of New Americans, and I want you to see how many different cities that these plans are in. It's going to blow your mind when you find out that there's an Office of New Americans in your city. I don't get, when you say Detroit, there's one there. You say Mississippi, there's one there. Louisville, Kentucky, there's one there. Alabama, Charlotte, North Carolina, there's one there. These people are set up all over the country to wipe you out. And you listen to a politician that you think is cool with you. You are going to get wiped out if you don't educate yourself and organize as many people to go against this as possible. And again, you can keep your mind fixated on a white racist Republican that don't exist in cities like Chicago. And I guarantee you, this new supremacy, because I know y'all talk often about white supremacy. Oh, immigrant supremacy is 50 times worse than that white supremacy that you've been taught to pay attention to. Why? Because some of those people are different groups of whites that are immigrants. And they are partnered with the Africans. They're partnered with the Mexicans. They're partnered with the Asians, the Indians. They all are together under the New Americans Plan. And we can keep taking the questions. I would like to answer the questions of the people. Man, it's important that the people know what's going on. Stay abreast of what's happening.
Okay, so someone says, what are your social media handles? I would like to inbox you on some things.
Marc Carter. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook as Marc Carter.
Somebody else said, are you doing any organizing? Wait, are you are you setting up any type of organizing this year?
Man, again, Cynthia Emanuel is going to be right here in Chicago, the media face for us educating our people in a rapid pace within a rapid pace on this New Americans Plan. So the short answer is yes. Cynthia, let's start doing it. Let's call on the people. And I'm glad that you've been doing this, because you got people who are now being awakened to this. And now we must supersize it. We must snowball effect this. Facebook Live, Twitter Spaces. I was just telling Alderman Scott that you need to be on Twitter Spaces, Alderman. You can literally have your entire ward listening in real time without having to have a meeting where you got to drive to the park district or whatever. You can sit in the confines of your home, the comfort of your home, and start educating the people in the ward. And that's what we have to do with us having this social media. And you can be out and about and looking at your phone in these rooms.
Wait, you said it's called what, Mark?
Twitter Spaces.
I never heard of that.
A lot of people haven't, but this is how I've been communicating this message about illegal immigration all over the country. Clubhouse, Twitter Spaces. These are social media sites where you can talk in real time to thousands of people. This entire neighborhood, this entire ward, this entire city, we can say, well, hey, at 6 o'clock, we're going to be on Twitter Spaces about what's happening in Chicago. And not only will Chicago be in the room, even though we may say, well, this conversation is for Chicago, people from all over the country can come in.
I want to get on that.
Yes.
I want to get on that. So, okay, Crystal. Hey, Crystal. Crystal says, hi, you all. Respectfully, having that majority, as you say, are blacks that are in leadership or Democratic parties, with the rapid pace that's going on, I don't think they have enough time to organize, having that they don't have knowledge or awareness for solution.
Well, let me say it again, Crystal. We know how to make time for what we want to get involved in. Sometimes it be the day of the party, and somebody called you, and it's 4 or 5 hours before you start getting ready so you can get to that party. These proms that are going on, some people find out a day or two before the prom. You making your business to get over there. And then the fact that social media allows us and affords us the opportunity to instantly tap in. You don't need as much time as you think you need to be made aware. All you have to do is come to Cynthia Emmanuel's broadcast, and whatever information is being given, write it down and start studying it. Okay, you know how to make time for anything you want to make time for.
Ms. Fain says, what is he preaching about the Democratic convention coming to Chicago?
Just go along to get along. That's what the mayor is preaching. I don't know if she's saying me or the mayor. So if you're saying me, I'm saying to you that don't get lulled in sleep by this Democrat Party coming here. And most of the contracts are going to everybody but you. They're going to inundate the city. And then they're going to continue to roll this plan. Because this is the Democrat Party that's rolling this plan out to get rid of us with mass immigration. I don't have time to play this game of not just outright telling you the truth. I'm not that type of man. And I've studied this long enough to know what is going to happen to you. And so right now, your best bet is to if you have to just cover your eyes and bite your tongue, you better be voting for Trump in this election. And I didn't say Republicans. I said Trump. Trump is the only elected official on the national level that is going to get rid of your major problem. He's the only one who's going to speak out. Say it again.
Ms. Fain said, oh, okay, that's insane.
Right. I can actually see what they put in. Okay. So if they put their questions up, I can actually see them as well as you can, right? And got so immigration, y'all. Immigration was and has always been used as a tool to eliminate having to deal with black people. When you go back to the early 1900s, they brought in the Irish and Italians and Jews. Why? Because we were the most educated and skilled workforce in this country. And so they were brought in to replace us then. We had over 2,000 Tulsas. When you hear about Tulsa, you had almost 3,000 Tulsas in this country. All over America, we had Tulsas that were burned down by these immigrants that came into this country. But then told, just pay attention to the white racist Republican, the Ku Klux Klan. Yeah, the Ku Klux Klan did some of it, but it wasn't like what happened with these the illegal immigrants at that time. These people, look, if we had almost 3,000 Tulsas, you know what that means? That means that we had our own businesses and we were the politicians and everything else all over this country. But when they started coming in, they burned our towns down. And then we turn right around and go with the very party that led the charge to do this.
So, Mark, in short, you'd be surprised. A lot of people don't know the difference between Republican and Democrat. In short, can you give us can you tell us the difference?
Well, difference is that the Republican Party is going to more likely push for America first. The Democrat Party is going to push for immigrant first. That's just the way it is. The Democrat Party was started by and for immigrants. The Republican Party was started by Black people for America.
So Republican was started by Black people for America, and
not just Black people, but also abolitionists, those who were against slavery. Okay. So it was a Black idea, and the abolitionists were on board with it. And so the Democrat Party was started by immigrants to take care of immigrants as they were coming into this country. They started forming unions, and those unions were providing jobs and blocking us out of the jobs.
Because one of my boys asked me what's the difference between Democrat and Republican, and I told him go to YouTube and TikTok like you do everything else. But that's good information because a lot of people don't know. You know, you just hear people saying Democrat and Republican, and so if you're not into politics, like that's
the way these politicians want it, including Black politicians. They want an uneducated populace. They don't want you to know. They want you to operate like a robot. Do as I say. Don't ask no questions. If we say vote for these candidates right here, don't ask why we say vote for those candidates. Just do it. And that's what our people have been doing. Just going along to get along for nothing in return.
Wow.
Again, there are absolutely no white, racist, Republican, Ku Klux Klan members in the city council. They're all Democrats. All Democrat.
Wow. So you brought something to my attention. You said that every alderman is a Democrat.
Yes.
That's interesting. And this plan was put out in 2011, and everybody knew about it. So what's happening now?
All the elected officials did. The people in the city, they don't know about it. But every alderman, every state rep, you know, they have it on state level at the governor's office. They know about it. Oh, let's start really organizing and speaking on it, and you're gonna find out that they, you know, look when they see you constantly do this broadcast and educating the people, you're gonna find out that they know about it. They're gonna reach out to you. They're gonna want to come on and refute the things that I'm saying, which they can't. I mean, the stuff is in writing. So let's start organizing.
Wow, that's interesting.
You know,
that's interesting. Okay, Mark, it looked like we out of time. So you've educated and brought us some key points that a lot of people that we, even myself, wasn't knowledgeable about. And so I appreciate it. And of course, I want to learn more about, you know, like you said, what's happening in front of me. Like I think every individual would want to know what's happening and that, you know, that will affect us.
Okay, so if I can end with this, I can end by saying that everybody, please do your homework on the Chicago New Americans Plan. Google these things. Study them in and out. The Chicago New Americans Plan, the overall national plan, the Office of New Americans, and Cities for Action. And maybe when we come back, then we can get off into the bills, because everything has got to have a bill attached to it and fundings. And so if you look at these bills and the monies that are attached to them, you will see how they're rolling this out all across the country. So the Office of New Americans, the Chicago New Americans Plan, and Cities for Action.
I'm just looking at the people. You gave me an idea, Mark. I think that would be very informative for me to do a political informational session where people can come on and answer questions in regards to whatever it is that you're talking about. So I think, I'm going to definitely.
Let's do a teach-in. Let's do a teach-in where
Okay.
everybody, for just say 2 or 3 days, the task is to read the plan and then come to your broadcast to answer questions and ask questions about it.
Okay. I'm looking for some paper to write this down. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right, Mark. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Off this app about that, because I got people texting me saying I want to know more information about that. Have them on again, so on and so forth. Okay. So
and we can create a flyer. We can create a flyer, right? Just whatever day that you say that we're gonna be on, create a flyer, and all through that week, share it on social media. Share the flyer, and by the time you'll have more people. We saying to everybody in Chicago, everybody here in Lawndale where we are, tune in next Sunday. We're gonna do a teach-in. We're gonna educate the masses on the harmful impact of what's gonna happen to us under this Office of New Americans, the Chicago New Americans Plan. And who knows about it? Politicians. Who knew that this was happening all the time? These politicians knew. They have known. The teachers union, again, they went to Venezuela back in 2015, y'all, to bring these people to this country. Let me say that again, and I'll end by saying this one more time. The Chicago Teachers Union went to Venezuela in 2015 to bring these people back and funnel them into the school system. And guess what's happening right now? All of the majority resources are being given to illegal immigrant children. They're not educating American children. They're not paying attention to our children.
Yes, Crystal, this is recorded. It'll also be on YouTube, so you can check it out on YouTube. All right. Well, thank you guys.
Right.
Thank you guys. Stay tuned for part 2. You guys will see the flyer. Thank you again, Mark, for taking time out your busy day to come talk to me. Until next week, you guys be safe. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for coming on, talking to us about the issues that can possibly affect us, right? And so you guys be safe and
go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
Views made on the preceding program are not those of WVTC Radio, iNetworks Communications, or their financial supporters.
Winning victory through Christ, WVTC Allsip Chicago, and iNetworks Communication Station.